Peter, who are we talking to today?
Well, today, John, we have Emily Clair, and she's a singer, songwriter and music teacher.
Wow, a very talented lady.
Yes, she's accomplished a great deal in a very short space of time.
Okay, great. Let's listen to the interview.
Okay, welcome, Emily.
Hello.
Thanks for joining myself and Peter on our podcast, 2Ds in a Pod. And really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. And the first question, obviously, has got to be, who's Emily Clair? Where are you from?
I am a musician / music teacher / general creative person who lives in Sutton and, does lots of musical things.
Family background?
My family background is a bit all over the place because I came to music quite late. My grandma plays piano and my granddad loves opera. My parents aren't particularly musical, so I didn't have a huge amount of musical influence as a young child. But with my grandma playing piano, it was always kind of there. But later in life, I sort of discovered music through just tinkering about on the keys at my grandma's house, and then kind of realised I could make some nice sounds, and then sort of went with it, basically.
So were you encouraged to play, was that your sort of toy of choice when you went around there?
Yeah, I think so. It was always just, there was never any pressure to play it. It was always just sort of, if I wanted to play it, I could just go over and muck about on it and see what I could do with it. And I remember a lot of the time I would just sit in front of it and make up stuff. And often my grandparents would just sort of listen in the background. And I remember there was a sort of point where they were like, oh, that's actually quite nice. That's not sounding too bad. And then I don't know if there was any kind of discussion, but then when I went to high school, I started having singing lessons and piano lessons. And then it just kind of developed from there. I had some very nice music teachers who were really encouraging, which always helps. Yeah.
Okay.
That's basically it.
So obviously great having support teachers always, everybody remembers the great geography teacher, in your case, music teacher or sports teacher, whatever it is. Did they do with their school plays that you were singing in, dancing in, playing them?
There were. I wasn't actually massively involved in them. I don't really know why. I just wasn't. It was just never really my kind of thing. I did a lot of like school spring concerts, summer concerts, that sort of stuff. But there wasn't ever much that was on the sort of musical theatre side of things. I did eventually go to a musical theatre, like it was like a masterclass thing in London that I used to do once a week, which was quite good, but it also really solidified my fear of dancing.
Your fear of dancing, okay.
Yeah, I'm not a dancer, or at least I am, but just privately.
Okay.
But I've got 2 left feet. I cannot dance. I span off a stage once, and after that, I just never really wanted to do it again.
Wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And so by now, how old were you? When did music really start to grab you? This was
high school. High school is definitely where music kicked off with me. It was teachers, basically. I had really, really good teachers, and they were very encouraging, but also sort of taught me how my brain works.
Okay.
And I think that's quite a big issue in schools at the moment, because a lot of people's brains work very differently, and it's kind of a one size fits all. And I was very lucky that I had teachers that kind of clocked that my brain needed certain things, and music was one of them, and I could understand music, and I also wanted to understand music and found it interesting enough to actually pursue it. So,
and favourite bands at that time?
Of that time, it's probably far too embarrassing to talk about.
No, please tell us.
I was very into Glee, the programme.
High school musical kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was all very American and covers of songs, but it was actually a great programme to sort of introduce me to music that I might not have necessarily listened to off my own bat. But I've always been very, very diverse in what music I like. Classical music has always been a big thing. Film music is my love. I absolutely adore film music. But yeah, it just kind of progressed from there. And then I've always been quite open to people suggesting music to me.
Okay.
Unless it was my dad. My dad always had trouble getting me into music. But
what did he like?
Yeah.
What
Oh,
did he
Kate
like?
Bush. Always trying to get me into Kate Bush. And I
Right.
actually really like Kate Bush now. But don't tell him that.
No, never. We'll never. He'll never leave the studio.
Um, yeah, he had quite well, he's still got a very eclectic taste in music, but it went from Bowie to The Doors to Kate Bush to Pink Floyd,
Hmm.
Blur, that sort of stuff, which most of which I actually do really like now. But at the time where I was watching things like Glee,
Yeah, quite
Kate
different.
Bush was probably not
Not
my
your cup of
thing.
tea. Not your cup of tea. And when did you feel it could be a career? I mean, when did you think I could actually do this for the rest of my life?
I think music departments in schools, I always say, are very special places because it tends to attract the weird and wonderful people, and you sort of feel this community, and it just sort of comes out of nowhere. And when you find it, it's lovely, and it gives you this confidence in what you're doing. And even if that is just playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on a piano, there are people there that will listen to it, and it gives you this validation that what you're doing is bringing some sort of joy to people, and that's really basically it. And I pursued it further in my A levels because I switched schools for my A levels and I went to a different school that offered more music stuff. And all
Hmm.
of my A levels were music based, and I did everything. And they even tried to not get me to do it all because I think they wanted me to do something else just so that I had another
So you
option.
had a breadth of
Yeah,
experience.
and
Yeah.
I was just like, nope, I'm quite happy just doing all music. That's fine with
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
And it was there that I really kind of found my love for it properly
Okay.
and started songwriting. I understood how to record my own music and compose my own music and got to nerd out over some of the old composers from many,
That's
many, many,
good.
many years ago.
Wow.
And it was just all kind of shaping me.
Is this all piano, or did you
No,
play?
no, this
No.
this was mainly singing actually.
Right.
Piano's
Okay.
sort of come, piano's always been there, but when I really committed to music, it was more the singing stuff. So all
Okay.
throughout high school, up until the end of sixth form, I was having singing lessons and did my grade 8 at the end of sixth form, which is in case you didn't know, which is like the highest grade.
Wow.
Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, it was good. Although the exam itself was quite a experience because this is a story that I bring up a lot when I'm teaching because a lot of kids that go into exams they worry that they have to get absolutely everything perfect, and if they don't then they'll fail. And this little anecdote that I give them is basically when I did my grade 8 exam, I studied for it like mad. I mean, really went for it. And there's this bit in the exam where you have to sing in Italian. And for some reason, I just had this mental block with it. And there was this one bit that I just knew I was going to forget. And in the exam, forgot it. And in this panic of a moment, I just thought, oh, just make up Italian. Just wing it. Just, you
As
know
you
the
do.
notes.
As you do.
Just make it up. So made up some Italian. I think in my head it was like the whole song, but I think it was probably only a line or two. And left this exam thinking, oh my goodness, I've just messed everything up. And then 2 weeks later, got a text from my singing teacher saying, you got a distinction, which is like
Wow.
the top you
Fantastic.
get.
Yep. Yep.
And the notes on that section of the exam, firstly, I got full marks. Secondly, they made a point of saying that my pronunciation of Italian was really good. So I basically to say to a lot of the kids that I teach is that music is about making sure that you're enjoying it, but also making sure that if something goes wrong, you do just have to kind of get over it and just,
Carry on.
yeah, just carry on. Because if you make a big deal of it, then they will know, and they will know that something went wrong, even if they didn't notice it. And
How's the German singing?
oh gosh,
Not quite as melodic as your Italian.
my goodness. I think I've sung in German twice. It's horrible.
Mm.
It's so horrible. It's all in the back of your throat, and it's not very nice. Apologies to any German listeners.
No, no, no. We understand. I mean, obviously, Italian flows very well with the music. A lot of music, so
Italian
it's
is
kind of
stunning
so
to
it's
sing
easier.
in.
Yeah, whatever. Who knows what the words mean? But that's great. Peter, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I think just on a slightly more sort of philosophical level, I mean, what does music really mean to you? Is it something that you sort of retreat into, depending on what's going on in your life, or is it something that you fall back on when you're trying to explain situations? Does it have that kind of a meaning in your life?
Music is that's a massive question. Music is everywhere. So even if I walked away from it, I would never be able to get away from it because it's just everywhere. And the way that my brain works is whenever I listen to music, I listen to it from a listening point of view, but listen to it from a puzzle point of view. When it's a good piece of music, it has to make my brain work as well. But it's got so many levels to it. It's a comfort. I find playing piano has been very good at, if I feel like my brain's going all over the place, I can just sit at a piano and put a piece of music in front of me and it will just take my brain somewhere else just for a second. And it's quite grounding in that sense because it just gives you something to do that's not maybe stressing out about something. But then like you look at film music, which is often very emotive and kind of like eating a good banana. You know, you just listen to it and you just think, oh, that was really good. And yeah, that side of music is brilliant. But also, I love understanding where songs came from and how they were written and why they were written and the history behind them. Like Shostakovich used to hide secret messages in his music. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I saw Ray last night at the O2 and
Right.
that was phenomenal. And her music is amazing to me because it's just so intricate and it's great to hear somebody writing music that makes you work for it a little bit because she just throws everything at it and it's just great. So yeah, music is just everywhere and brings me lots of joy.
And does that mindset in terms of losing yourself in music, does that come into the composing part as well when you're writing a song? Do you feel that emotional release when you're writing something like you might when you're absorbing somebody else's music?
Sometimes I think if you're in the right frame of mind when you're writing a piece of music that is cathartic, if you're writing a piece of music about a breakup or a loss of some sort, it can bring you a lot of resolution to a problem. It can also be very frustrating because often you sit down to write a piece of music because you're feeling something, but sometimes you're not ready to write that song yet, and that's really difficult. But yeah, it's weird because I have various songs that have emotional meaning to me that don't to other people. And then I've written songs where I wrote it in about 10 minutes and has no emotional value to me at all. But whenever I perform that particular song, people react very emotionally to it. And they're like, oh, where did this come from? You must have gone through something horrible. And I'm like, no, I just wrote it for I wrote it for some homework at university and I forgot to do it. So I did it very last minute, like the night before, and it just worked and it clicked and it's just stuck around. Yeah, it just depends really.
So it can be like a therapy then, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Is that something that can be learned? I mean, you obviously teach. When you're teaching your students, do you teach them that might be a way of expressing themselves as much as the actual technical and practical side of teaching music?
Yeah, that's kind of my whole ethos with music and teaching it. I'm not one of these teachers that are striving to have students that are going to be virtuosos in their instruments. It'd be great if they were, but it's more about enjoyment. And I think for there to be an outcome of music that has come from the heart or have some feeling or emotion, they have to enjoy it first because it's going to be very hard to make music that other people can find some sort of feeling in if they don't have it in themselves. So a lot of my teaching style is mainly just letting them work it out and being there if they need me because they've got to do it themselves, not me tell them how to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And does everybody have to have a grasp of music to be able to fully appreciate it? I mean, I can't sing, for instance, so I have no ability to express myself in song. I mean, does that help and that understanding of and that feel for music?
No, it's not. I don't think it's something that you need to understand to enjoy at all. because otherwise music wouldn't be so successful. My granddad, as an example, I think he tried to learn piano when he was really little and failed his grade 1, which is actually quite impressive because I think it's near impossible to fail a grade 1 exam.
I think of it. I could try.
But but he loves music and he listens to music more than anyone else I know. We actually have a shared playlist where he'll upload pieces of music that he loves, and then I've got my own one that I do the same, and we share the playlist and we listen to what each other enjoys listening to. But he's got in terms of like music theory, he's got very little knowledge in that. But in terms of like the history of music and the instruments and that side of things, he's incredibly intelligent from that side of things. But he's actually had no professional music training besides being married to my grandma, who's an amazing pianist. Yeah.
I guess one question that's interests me is the link between maths and music. I know several people who are fantastic mathematicians, but are also brilliantly intuitive musicians, can play by ear. Have you ever come across that in your experience?
Not in myself, because I'm terrible at maths. I, funnily enough, had an amazing maths teacher who was phenomenal, but she taught me amazing maths for what I needed it for to get through my GCSEs. But she also taught me about like being a great teacher and all of that. But the maths side of music is definitely a thing. I think if you've got, even though I wasn't great at maths, I have got quite a logical brain, and a lot of music is understanding, how do I explain this? So you've got bars of music, which are like the boxes that the notes sit in. And to understand the rhythms, you have to understand the lengths of the bars, the lengths of the notes, where they fall, how to count yourself. Often when you're counting yourself, it's not just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or all of these other ways of counting. And you're doing that whilst playing your instrument, and it's quite complicated. So that side of it is quite similar, I guess, to mathematicians in terms of breaking things up. And yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling because I'm really not good at maths, but
No,
I can understand where the relation is.
Sure. I've seen that you have to resolve music in a way that you have to end it correctly. You can't just let the notes just flow. They have to end in a certain way to come back to a resolution.
Sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna discuss or debate musical theory with you, because I'm sure you're gonna get me on that. But I'd read that it was important to resolve a piece. That when you somebody writes a piece, that it's resolved, whatever that means.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's different resolutions, and sometimes they sound finished and sometimes they don't.
Right.
But it's always intentional.
So you're doing a lot of teaching, it sounds like, at the moment. Is that what about you recording and performing and playing for yourself, or is teaching the career path for the moment?
Teaching's definitely the career path at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really enjoying teaching. Always, when I went into it, it was something I was doing alongside music. It's shifted much more into becoming my income.
Right.
Which is great, because having studied at university doing a music degree, it's nice to actually use my music degree. But the teaching side of things I'm finding really great, because you get this great feeling when one of your students gets it, and you can see that there's this light bulb moment that goes off in their head, and they get it in a way that you get it, and they kind of have this little spark that you also have, and it's just kind of, it's nice seeing other people have that.
Can I ask, what age group are you teaching?
I'll teach anyone from year 1 to whatever age, really. But at the moment, I think my youngest is in year 1, or reception, actually.
Wow.
And my oldest is 16, I think.
Okay. And again, what are you trying to let them express themselves, as well as kind of following set pieces that give them a kind of good grounding in musical theory and musical ability?
When they are so young, it's very difficult to get them to play pieces every single week.
Yeah.
Because of course
just
it is.
the age. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they just want to do everything all at once, and just make lots of noise a lot of the time, which is great. And I think it's important to encourage that. And it's my job as their teacher to find ways to kind of sneakily teach them
Yeah.
without them realizing, because you have to sort of find ways to teach them basic stuff but make it really fun, or include a piece of music that you know that they're going to really enjoy playing,
Mhm.
or make up games, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that side of things, just about molding my way of teaching.
Yeah, that's challenging as well, isn't it? Trying to get Frozen into every piece that you're doing, a few bars of Frozen, so that at least they recognise it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Now, I actually do know that you've been involved in, should we say, for more mature students, been working with choirs and things like that. How have you found that? Are they the same? They just want to get on, and the same as the young kids in year one? They just want to make noise?
Yeah, I love them. I love my choir so much. They're a great pick-me-up in the middle of the week. I always look forward to it. No, they're really good, and it's a totally different way of teaching grown-ups. It's quite fun because you can sneak adult humor into the teaching, which always helps. Like, the classic thing that I do is when they're singing, a technique to, if they're going flat, which is like lower than the note that you want, I say lift your cheeks. And they all know that I mean the cheeks on your face.
Yes.
But I always say both cheeks because, we've all got more than one set of cheeks. And it also makes them laugh, which then brings their cheeks up. So that side of things is kind of fun. But no, the choir is great, and they just wow me every time they perform, and they chat a lot when we're rehearsing, but they always seem to pull it out of the bag when they need to, and there's just a lot of love in the room, which is just really great.
Now, we don't get many listeners or school age, so more of our listeners might be interested in the choir. Where do you do that? How does that work if they want you to come along?
We rehearse in a pub, which is always a box ticker for a lot of people. We rehearse in the Sun in Carshalton every Wednesday evening, or at least most Wednesday evenings, at 7:00. And we do stuff like ABBA and a bit of Taylor Swift. We've done Happy Together by the Turtles. That's a good one. When I'm 64. I try and make the song choices a bit all over the place, because you see a lot of choirs and they're all singing. There's a selection of songs that's just quite overused, I think.
Yeah, Happy Days, for example.
Yeah, that sort of stuff, which is fine, and I'm not knocking it at all because it works for them and that's fine. But I just think we're in a pub, which means we get people from all kinds of ages, which is great as well, because it's nice to have a lot of different ages. But I just want to make sure that there's something for everyone,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we sign off, what about you recording again? I mean, you've through the sort of chatting to you, you've said a couple of times you've recorded, you've written some stuff. Is there anything in there, any burning desire for you to release something, to get a piece of work out there, or is that kind of for the moment on the back burner?
A bit on the back burner at the moment. There was a period of time just before COVID where I was planning on recording and releasing an EP, but as with lots of things for lots of people, COVID came along and kind of stepped all over it. And then after that, it kind of just fizzled out. That doesn't mean to say I won't do it again. It's just, it's not the right time at the moment. I've got other things going on, and I'm more focused on making sure that the kids that I teach have got the tools so that maybe they can do it. But I love making music, but I have to be in the right frame of mind to do it, and I've just got too much on at the moment, which is such a classic excuse. But no, and when I was at uni, I made an album which is very wacky and wonderful, but probably not something I'll ever release as like a whole piece of work. But there are some things in there that I could maybe release one day.
Well, we look forward to hearing them. I mean, it sounds that the music has grabbed you and it's never going to let you go. So
no, never.
Whatever happens, it will sneak through, even when you think you're not doing it. Anyway, look, Emily, thank you for taking the time to speak to us both. Really interesting. We hopefully a few people might come along to the Sun on a Wednesday in Carshalton and join
the more
your
the
choir.
merrier.
The more the merrier. I mean, it's great what you're doing with kids, because music is so important in people's lives. When everybody wants to do, maths and English and kind of sciences and things, to have a little bit like that to the other, I don't know if it's the left side of the brain or the right side of the brain, whichever way the creative side works is really good. I think it's important. Okay, so thank you, and we'll speak soon. Look forward to hearing more about you and your musical journey. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Emily.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
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 Wow, what a very gifted lady. Where can we find out more about what she's currently up to?
She has a website, emilyclairmusic.com. You can find out more about what she's doing and the sessions that she's holding. Anyway, look forward to you joining us next time.
See you on the next episode of 2Ds in a Pod.